I don't want to say I was a victim, but I'm a survivor of abuse. I'm a survivor of self-harm and suicidal ideation attempts. A lot of things that I struggled with is loving myself. I was raised in a Mexican household, so a lot of that historical, cultural traits and the ways of upbringing your children were very harsh, especially me as being a woman. So I struggle a lot with either relationships and how my parents would react to that, my sexuality, how open I was with sex, and that really affected me in a way that I couldn't really tell anyone what was going on. And I hated myself for it, and I self-harmed, and I attempted suicide once because of that isolation that I felt in being the first Mexican child to be born in America. The American dream. I was that example, so I had to really just tuck everything in and be that strong person for not only my parents, but my little sisters.
Currently, I'm struggling with some intergenerational trauma that, it probably goes down several generations, but my mom has some mental health issues, so just trying to cope with that, being here, because she still lives in San Diego. Trying to cope with that, but at the same time, being there for her as best I can from so far away. And then also trying to be proactive about my mental health. I think it's important to take care of that. I know for her, she's older, so it's something that should have been probably addressed a long time ago. But I think that I'm really proud of her for dealing with it now, and hopefully she continues doing that, and hopefully I can, keep going to therapy and deal with my issues.
Something I've been struggling with, I guess. My mom is sick. My mom had a stroke 2 years ago. We were a household that we just depended on her. So I have 4 siblings, and it changed a lot. I had to pick up a lot of work. She's always in need of constant care, so I have to manage my time at work, manage school, and it's a lot of going back and forth, and trying to make sure that she's okay. So it's a lot more difficult.
So around this time last year, actually, I had a girlfriend who moved overseas to London for school, and it really, really affected me. I was heartbroken, I was really depressed. It really sucked for the entirety of fall into the winter, into the new year. And normally, fall and October in general is normally a very happy time for me because I get to do a lot of stuff I like. The weather is great. Halloween's my favorite holiday, so preparation for that is always a good time. But because of her departure last year, combined with the fact that my younger brother, who had just been enrolled in the Air Force, had also left to Colorado, and my sister had moved out of the house into her own apartment with her significant other, was a lot of loss of my loved ones at once, and it was really difficult to try and cope with that.
I had a relationship slash situationship, I guess is more appropriate, with a guy, and we were doing long distance, trying to make it work, but he kept kind of hinting at wanting more, kind of wanting to see me, things of that nature. I couldn't provide in that way. I'm still a student here, financially, strapped for cash and things of that nature. So it just didn't work out, but I was fully head over heels in love with him. I had never experienced anything like that in my life before. He just kind of provided space for me to just be and exist, and no partner I had had up until that point allowed for me to do that. So it's just coming to the realization that I have to let that relationship go and let it be what it was, and not try to resurrect the past.
Let's see, my mom died 3 years ago, so grief has been an ever-present ebb and flow of things to struggle with, and a very big roller coaster of figuring out who you are and what life means to you. I think death is something that we just don't talk about very often, and it's something that people go through. And like, I know so many people my age who have lost like a parent or somebody close to them, and they just are so unequipped to how to handle it, and it's just something that happens just continuously in life, and it's something that we're just very unprepared for, especially like the long haul. Like, what does grief look like in the long haul? So there's been a lot of just kind of like learning and like like coming in and out of what that experience is.
When I'm the most alive is definitely when I get to be with like my found family, my really really close friends, and we're just having a good time, like laughing our heart out to the point that it is loud, obnoxious, like there are tears in our eyes from laughing and we're gasping for breath, just because I feel like those moments are kind of the highlights that you can take away from life. Knowing that you can experience such intense moments of joy kind of make all the other things worthwhile. So
I'm in an internship right now. I'm interning in the Kenneth Young Center, so it's a mental health facility they offer a variety of services to adults, young adults, children, and seniors. And right now I'm working with children, 8 to 12, and they are struggling with social skills. So working with them one-on-one, like, really makes me kind of go back to like my own like experience being a child, and that helps me feel like I'm doing the right thing, like I'm in the right place. And if I could do that for the rest of my life and help a child that's struggling with like at school or social skills like in the group, I feel like that makes me feel the most alive, to be able to know that I'm helping someone.
I would say that feeling comes to me probably in like 2 or 3 different ways. It'd either be after I am looking back at something that I'm really proud of, be it like a piece of artwork that I made, or like a project that went well, or even after like a hard day at work when I get to go home and like everybody's like in a good mood because they earned their relief at this point. And then I'd say the other time I feel that is when I'm out with loved ones or friends, and there's just that moment where you can look around when everyone around you is smiling and there's just this like orchestra of laughter and happiness around you, and you can take a pause in that moment and be like, this is what makes it better. This is what happiness looks like. You can see it all around you. And that feeling is like almost magical to me, because there are times where I'm out with friends and we're all just laughing, even if it's about like mundane, stupid stuff, and we're just at a restaurant talking about video games and dicking around. It's like we're creating that feeling out of nothingness, just out of each other's company, and I think that's great.
Probably when, like, taking a walk, but listening to music. I like listening to music, so driving at night with summertime, windows down music, or just, walking somewhere, it's a nice day, listen to something bright or happy. I like listening to music a lot. I feel like that makes me feel alive, and I like being able to switch out the music to match either like where I'm at or the mood I'm in, or like if I'm driving around at night in the summertime, I like to listen to like something chill, relaxed.
I think for me, like when I feel most alive is when, and I don't want to say being productive, because that to me is like a form of oppression, like through colonialism and through capitalism, to be productive. But I think when I create, when I'm making prints that, or work that you know, not just gets good feedback and looks pretty, but has a story and that connects with other people who may be going through the same thing or have, like you said, similar issues. Like in the Latinx community, a lot of you know, traumas happen. When I can connect with, like, you know, one of my communities, like Latinx or queer communities, that makes me feel alive. But also being involved within the communities in different ways. Before I moved to Chicago, I was involved in throwing like DIY art shows for queer POC youth. That made me feel really alive. Like I had a 9-to-5 job and I would do this after work, like Monday through Friday until like 9 p.m. and I was so tired, but it was like so rewarding. It just was something that I think that I want to go back to doing after I'm done with school. But it's things like that. So not just, like I said, creating art, creating a sense of community.
It's funny because I think the thing I struggle with is really allowing myself to feel and express love. But the thing that I feel the most like joy from is feeling and expressing love. It's so annoying. It's like, what's happening here? Like sometimes like I'll be like working like a customer service job and you just have a really good experience with that person. You're just jiving, like this person's so nice, and then you're just talking and you're like, I know the weather is so great. Oh, you went to that museum too? Oh, it's amazing. And then you just feel so lovey and then you get all the tingles and then you're like, am I gonna cry in front of this person because I just feel so connected to them? Maybe. But yeah, I think I feel the most alive when I feel love. I think I feel the most alive when I feel community and connected to folks. I feel the most alive when I'm like truly doing the things that I want to be doing and living life in the way that feels good and not in a way that feels like I'm supposed to be doing this or I have to be doing this. It's like, oh, I want to be in this moment. Like the times where you're just fully not thinking about some X, Y, and Z thing that happened yesterday or 10 years ago, or like the things you have to get done in the next hour or, you know, 10 years from now. Like you're just fully in the moment and like you're just alive. Like that's it. You're just like, oh, I'm here. I'm really just here and everything is actually fine.
So I would say overall, just advice I would give my young self or somebody going in a similar situation is just you want to give yourself time to breathe, you want to give yourself time to grow, and you want to give yourself a goal to set for the future so that when you get to that point, you can look back and see all the progress you've made. You can look back and see how much better you were or are now than you were beforehand. And I think it's really important to track your growth as a person, be it in a skill, be it in like emotionally, and I would say like you just have to give yourself time because everything in this world takes time to do.
I think that the advice that I would give to, like, I don't know, probably my younger self or someone going through similar things or similar identities is that it's okay if you can't help someone who's like mentally unstable. It's okay if you have boundaries with them. You're not a therapist and you can't fix anybody. Also, I would say is that, you know, they're not mad at you. You're not the problem. They just need to work on themselves.
It's okay to ask for help. It really is okay. But there's, in my family, in the Hispanic community, I feel like there's a lot of stigma asking for mental help. Or, you know, if you tell your parents you're feeling sad or something, a lot of the times they're kind of like, don't be sad. You need to see a doctor for that, all these things. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There's nothing wrong with going to a therapist. There's nothing wrong with letting people know that you're not okay and you don't always have to pretend to be happy. You can have your sad, anxious days. It's better if you share them with somebody.
I think when I was younger, I felt so much shame, which is something I'm still trying to process and figure out. But just so much shame over like the way I looked or how much money we didn't have, and like having like, before people thought going to the thrift store was cool, like having to do that kind of stuff. And just like all of the ways in which I just wasn't normal, and all of the things like either my home life or where we lived or how I dressed or what I looked like, all of the ways it just wasn't what I felt would just make me just like blend right on in there and just be normal and like accepted and get the love from the people I wanted and all my crushes and like just be good. And I think the thing that I needed to understand, and I mean, you can tell things to a 12-year-old, doesn't mean they'll listen, but I think the thing I needed to understand is that all of those different things make you who you are and are going to give you a very unique story to tell. And I don't know the exact words I would have needed to hear. I don't know if there are words I could have heard, but like anything I could have done to make myself feel less ashamed for who I was and how I was at 12 or 9 or 15 or 18 would have been just very helpful. Would have like really eased a lot of insecurities that I'm trying to overcome now. Yeah.
One thing that I would say is to give yourself space and hold space for yourself to just be, and to allow whatever you feel just to feel it wholeheartedly, because there's too many times where bad situations or unfavorable I'll say situations can arise, and you'll want to feel like, okay, well, it's time to just put up my A game. I gotta fix this. I gotta go. And you don't stop to say, no, I'm kind of falling apart right now, and that's okay. So just allow yourself to be. Allow yourself to be your best friend in your time of need.
Obviously seek help, because I was never open about my depression or, everything I was thinking about. Seek help, even if it's your church. If you have a church, your school will help. For some reason, I never trusted anyone because of the way I was raised. I was never trusting anyone. So, yeah, seek help. Like, that's the first thing that I want to say. And also that things are always going to be better, even if they seem like the worst today. Things will get better. There's always sunshine after the storm.